Am I the asshole for getting mad at my wife because she caused me to fail an important interview? I, 27 male, and my wife, 24 female, have been married for 3 years. She is 6 months pregnant. I've been looking for a job with a better pay since my wife said she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom after the birth. Today I had this interview for a position at a very good IT company which would be paying triple my current salary. There were a lot of measures taken to prevent malpractice. I was not allowed to look anywhere but the screen, and the test was conducted on an online platform. I told my wife numerous times before the exam about how strict it was. Just 15 minutes after my test started, my wife started knocking on my study door and calling out my name, asking me to open a jar. I ignored her. I ignored her because I'd be disqualified from the interview if I looked anywhere else or spoke. I figured she'd get the hint that I couldn't talk, but she didn't. She yelled at me, calling me an asshole, and went on to talk to her friends on call. It didn't stop at the calls. She played loud music for her online dance yoga class. It was extremely distracting, and I made a lot of mistakes in the exam. I got the results immediately, and as I suspected, I failed. This was the 5th interview my wife ruined like this. I told her to start working again after the birth, and I'm okay with paying for a nanny or sitter.
Story time about how my ex broke into my apartment and trashed my entire apartment and ruined every single thing that I owned. I'm not gonna lie, my relationship with my ex is terribly toxic. We actually met each other on a dating app, I know. He was absolutely charming on the first date. Second date, not so much. And third date, he was absolutely awful. But I just started falling in love with him, like literally from the moment I met him. I had it in my head that I was gonna make him a good boyfriend. Like, me? I seriously, honestly thought that he would change and just become a better guy. He quickly wanted to be exclusive, but did not want to call me his girlfriend. Oh, and he would get jealous about every little single thing. If I wanted to go out with friends, he would get upset. If I didn't answer my phone or text him right away, he would get upset. Mind you, this whole time, he doesn't want to call me his girlfriend. I work as a stylist, but I also model on the side just for some money. Well, he hated this. A week into dating or whatever we were, he told me that I needed to quit modeling. If I didn't quit modeling, that meant that I was for the streets. Because, you know, all models are for the streets. Like the idiot I am, I started passing up on jobs. I even passed up on a Sephora campaign. My modeling agency was really upset. But in my mind, I thought, you know, if I do what he wants, he'll be a good boyfriend. And maybe we can call each other boyfriend and girlfriend. My mom kept insisting that she wanted to meet him, but he said no. Now, when he told me that he didn't want to meet my mom, trust me, I put my foot down. I told him there was absolutely no way I could be in a relationship with anybody who did not want to meet my family. He told me that I was taking things way too seriously. That's when I threw it in his face that he acts like a jealous boyfriend, but still doesn't want to call me his girlfriend. So he explained to me that any girl he talks to has to be only for him. And even if he's not dating you, you still have to be only for him. Then he told me that he was dating 2 other girls. I had a suspicion, but I never thought he would actually admit it to me. I told him that we needed a break and that I didn't want to see him for a few weeks. This made him insanely jealous. He told me that I was a liar and that I was probably hooking up with someone else the whole time I was with him. And yes, I did try to convince him that I wasn't, but he was not having it. I just moved into my new apartment, which I absolutely love. Spent over $3,000 decorating it. I even got CB2 furniture. I made the mistake of giving him a key a few weeks ago. One day I come home from a modeling job and my apartment is completely trashed. I walk into my apartment to find it trashed. At first I thought I had been robbed, but that's when it hit me. It was my ex. The walls in my apartment were smeared with chocolate. There was literally broken glass in the entryway, so I could have stepped in glass. All the mirrors were shattered and broken. My television was on the floor, completely smashed, and there was a hammer right next to my TV. This man took a hammer and smashed my television. He did the same thing to my expensive Vitamix blender. All of my makeup was in the toilet. And yes, there was poo in the toilet too. The sink was full of kitchen condiments where he put all of my expensive perfumes. The bathroom mirror was also smashed. My expensive ass CB2 couch was full of mustard and honey. All of my couch cushions had olive oil on them. I mean, the list goes on and on. I pulled out my phone and started taking picture and video. I called the police and my parents came right away. Of course, I called my ex and told him that I knew it was him, and he denied everything. He said, and I quote, "You're crazy," and then hung up. The cop that came to my apartment was super rude. He said that I must have done something really bad in order to deserve this kind of punishment. I filed a police report and they told me that I could sue him. So far, he does not want to pay a single dime. He then admitted to me through text messages that he got the idea from a TikTok video, and that some other guy had done this to his ex. So far, I've spent $500 just in cleaning services to clean my apartment. I'm living back with my parents. Luckily, a judge made him pay me $5,000. Still not enough. He's been calling me and begging me to get back with him. What do I freaking do?
I'm an asshole for calling out my mother-in-law for babying her grown son. My mother-in-law has babied her son for as long as I've known them. She has treated him like a child, and he's a 32-year-old man. My husband was sick and had to take off work, and while I was at work, she would come into our house and take care of him. I was never notified about this until I came home from work and she was there. She's always telling me how I'm a bad wife and that I need to cater to his son's every need. I've told my husband that it's very odd that his mom treats him like that, and I've also overheard her telling him that he should leave me and come back to live with her, since I'm such a terrible wife. She's always getting in my face about how I should change and how I can be more like her. She thinks I'm not enough for him, and my husband does nothing about it. He even agrees with her sometimes. When I came home, I asked her what she was doing, and she told me treating her son how he deserves to be treated, and that she's doing the things that I will not do. That was my last straw, and I blew up on her. My husband took her side, and they both told me I was out of line. So, am I the asshole?
Am I the a-hole for calling my aunt a creep and outing her for being a homewrecker? To preface, I, 27 female, have an aunt that is 55 female. Let's call her Susie. I've never been very close to her as she constantly bullies me, picks on my looks, and when I was 20, she bullied me into an eating disorder. Despite all these things, I stayed cordial to keep the peace in my family. However, last week was my breaking point. For backstory, Susie has two daughters, 18 and 14, who are still teenagers, and it's known amongst the family that since Susie's divorce in 2016, she neglects them badly. She doesn't cook, doesn't keep groceries in the home for them, and my cousins have even confided to me that she refuses to buy them new clothing. Wow. She kind of sounds like an evil stepmother. Despite my differences with Susie, I drop off home-cooked meals to her daughters, will give them hand-me-down clothes, and offer to help out with schoolwork. Most of the times during my drop-offs, Susie would be on her way, but would always remember to make a jab at me, whether it be what I was wearing or even how my makeup was done.
She's helping your kids.
I usually brushed it off, as aggravating as she is. One day, her eldest daughter confided in me that she wanted to move out because she couldn't deal with Susie anymore. She would yell constantly, make her daughters clean all day, and scream if it weren't up to her standards. Sounds more like Cinderella, evil stepmother.
Clean the tavern.
Clean the fireplace. In addition, Susie was going on multiple dates a week with different men, one of which was married with a 1-year-old baby, and one that was 15 years younger than her.
God.
She's slob and cob at every knob hob.
Slob and cob.
Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I told my cousin that if she needed anything, that I would be there for her, and went back home. The following week was my brother's 18th birthday. I'm newly engaged, and my fiance and I made our way to my mother's home where a small get-together was held. In total, there were around 25 people, including Susie and her daughters.
Oh, God.
Susie was ogling at my fiance the entire time. He mentioned that it was creeping him out a bit, and we decided to make our way to the opposite side of the family room. Susie didn't like that and decided to raise her voice and proclaim to my fiance in front of the entire family that it must be tiring to be with me, and that when he finally got sick of me, he could come get with her because she was a cougar.
Oh, no.
Cougars going hunting. I was livid. Without hesitation, I told her, you can around in your free time and break up marriages all day, but you will not disrespect my fiance, and you are an absolute creep and a sorry excuse for a mother. And she got up right then and took off with her daughters. My family actually supported my reaction and told me that they've been wishing someone would finally tell her off. I do feel bad because I did cause a scene at my brother's party, and I told everyone what my cousin told me in confidence. Am I the asshole?
The nurse said it was my own fault that he hurt me. So this happened when I was 21 after an OD suicide attempt. I woke up in the hospital in the middle of the night to a nurse saying that he needed to replace my IV. He jabs me 2 or 3 times, but doesn't hit a vein, so I ask if he could get someone else to try. He says no and just keeps going. By the 7th or 8th needle, it registers that he's intentionally trying to hurt me. So I ask him, "Why are you doing this?" And he says, "It's your own fault you're here." The next day, a nurse was taking out my IV, and she was horrified because she said it was the biggest needle she'd ever seen used on a living patient. So yeah, night nurse who loves big needles and little girls, let's not meet again.
Crazy story time about how my husband tried to unalive me and my lover when he caught us cheating. By the way, I'm at the airport again. I don't know how I always end up at the airport trying to do voiceover, so sorry if it sounds weird. My husband and I have been together for 10 years, but we were best friends before we ever decided to get into a relationship. One thing about me is that I've never been able to stay loyal in a relationship. And because my husband was my friend before, he knew that. It was a running joke in our friend group that I was never going to be able to stay loyal to one man. Eventually, when my husband and I got married, he totally never thought that I would be able to do that to him. I mean, I never thought I was going to be able to cheat on him, but there I go. Fast forward to 4 months ago. I work in the fashion industry and I'm constantly in contact with lots of models and good looking people. So this cute guy comes into my office and he's a model and he started flirting with me right away. I mean, he was actually pretty much flirting with every woman in the office, but I was like, oh my god, he's so cute. I had 3 options. I could ignore the flirting, or I could flirt back, or I could flirt back and give him my number. I went with option C. I gave him my number and he texted me later that day asking if I wanted to go to dinner. I said yes. So I told my husband that I was going to be staying at the office late, which I did all the time anyway, and he trusted me. After that dinner, this guy and I were totally inseparable. We would meet up for lunch every single day and hang out for a few hours after I finished work, or sometimes I would get off work early to go hang out with him. I told this guy I was going through a separation and that's why I couldn't stay over at his place. And he believed me. By the way, I'm using the shade Verano from my Tanya collection with Aunat. If you guys want to shop it, it's the link in my bio. My husband travels for work a lot and this was my saving grace. Whenever my husband would go out on trips, I'd invite my boyfriend to stay over at my house. While on one of those trips, my husband came home early and didn't bother to tell me. Apparently, he already had his suspicions and wanted to catch me in a lie. He catches me and my lover in the act. My husband went psycho, you guys. He grabbed his gun and held us at gunpoint for 4 hours. The entire time, he was trashing our bedroom. My boyfriend, aka the model I was cheating on him with, basically cried the entire time and didn't say a word. While me, on the other hand, was trying to explain to my husband that he knew that I was like this. Well, that just made him angrier. Eventually, I told him that I would give him a divorce if he wanted one. And that's when my husband told me that he was never going to divorce me and that I was going to stay loyal to him for the rest of my life. And I promised him that I would. Finally, after 4 hours, he made me promise never to see this guy again, which I agreed to. The guy told me that he would never want to see me again and that he didn't want any trouble. He also told my husband that he was a victim in this whole thing and that I lied to him about being in a relationship, which is kind of true. So then my husband got even angrier. My boyfriend ran out of the house and promised not to call the police. That's when my husband told me that he already knew about the relationship and that he had been spying on me with him this whole time. When I asked him how he'd been spying, he didn't want to tell me. This led me to believe that he probably has cameras around our house and that he probably put some spyware stuff in my phone so he knows exactly what I'm doing on it. Then he told me that from now on I was to never take the pill again and that he wanted me to get pregnant as soon as possible. My career is super important to me and he knows that I don't want to have kids just yet. But now he's basically forcing me into having children. Told him we should really consider getting a divorce or at least going to couples counseling and he doesn't want to. I know I shouldn't have cheated on him, but at the same time, I'm being forced into staying in this relationship and I'm being forced into getting pregnant. He's even dropping me off at work and picking me up. I feel like he's always watching me and I don't know what to do. I also feel bad because I broke his heart and I know he's hurting, but he's totally going about this the wrong way. I know you guys are going to have some advice on what I should do, so please comment. My best friend thinks I should just go file for divorce during my lunch break, but I don't know. I feel like it's just going to make him kill me. What should I do?
Am I the asshole for refusing to pay my half of our canceled wedding? My ex-fiancé and I come from very different cultural backgrounds. Our families live on entirely different continents. I explicitly told him before we even got engaged that I always wanted a small, low-key wedding. I know that his culture have huge, lavish weddings, and he told me that this is what he wants. So when we got engaged, we had a long conversation which resulted in the compromise that we would have a big wedding in his home country, but drop some of the other aspects of his culture that I wasn't so comfortable with, or did not mesh well with my own culture. This was not a huge amount of customs we were dropping. In fact, we arranged to drop one and alter two so that they streamlined better with my own culture. We were both as happy as possible with this outcome. We began making bookings, reservations, and paying deposits for our wedding. This was all out of his bank account. This is because we did not have citizenship in each other's countries, so it was far less complicated for everything to be paid from one account of the same country. The intention was that after we get married, it would be much easier to get citizenship, and once citizenship was approved, we would merge our finances, and at this point would not matter who had paid for the wedding, since all our money would be together. 3 weeks before we were married, his mother and aunts got wind of one of the customs we had arranged to alter and lost him. Through conversation, they had found out about the other two, and eventually they threatened to disown him for being a bad son. They said I was cutting him off from his family and that if that was what he wanted, they would make it easier for him. He begged me to change my mind, but I was firm saying this is what we decided together. I wasn't going to drop the agreement because his family don't like it, when there are plenty of aspects my own family are uncomfortable with. Relationships are about compromise and communication, and ultimately, the first priority are the two people in the relationship, not their family. He told me that if I wouldn't budge, then the wedding was off. I told him I already had made my compromise, and I still wanted to marry him under our original conditions when we had spent a long time negotiating and originally felt were fair. He said he had changed his mind and did not want to marry me. After a few weeks, he contacted me asking me to pay him back for half the money he was unable to get back from the deposits we paid. Since it was so close to the planned date that we canceled, it was not a small amount of money. However, since he was the one who called off the wedding, and even at this point, I would still marry him if we were able to honor our original agreement, I don't think I'm obliged to pay. I told him this and he's very unhappy because he believed that it's my fault that he canceled the wedding because I'm unwilling to be flexible. So, am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my half of our canceled wedding?
I've 26 female, been dating a new guy, 30 male, for 5 months. I like him, and he invited me to his parents' house for the long Memorial Day weekend. So the parents order takeout Friday night for everyone, and it's this extremely spicy Indian food. Not my first choice, but I'm going to try everything to be gracious. Wake up early Saturday at his parents' house, feel a bit off, but maybe I just need breakfast. Meanwhile, the guy I'm dating and his father have planned a pre-breakfast run, and the dad is like really laying on the pressure. Reluctantly, I put on running shorts and whatnot and head out to the driveway with the two of them. After about 15 minutes, I had fallen a bit behind, and I was realizing something was very not okay in my body. The dad slowed down to shuffle next to me. Quote, "You okay?
Oh no.
Need a break? You look really white in the face." We were at least a mile from their house, standing on a fully quaint, tree-lined residential street with no public bathrooms or even woods, and I was not okay. I stopped shuffling. The guy I'm seeing responded to his dad's shout and ran back and put his hand on my back. All I remember is saying, "Don't fucking touch me right now." At a point of no return, "Leave me. Fast. Just run ahead. I'll meet you back at the house." Did they listen? You bet not. They insisted on staying and calling his mom to drive their car to pick us up. I couldn't even speak. I tried to walk towards a tree, but it was too late. I fully shit in the middle of the road. Not like a cute shit I could hide in my shorts. The kind of unforgivable and unspeakable shit where you have to flush the toilet a few times.
Poor
A
thing.
small or maybe large piece of my soul and dignity was left behind on that street a few weekends ago. I fled the weekend trip early after my shower, making up an excuse. I have told the guy since that I just can't face him in person yet. Someone please help.